Are you interested in deepening your spiritual awareness and discovering your true nature as divine? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Align with the Divine. With me, your host, Patricia Diorio, spiritual mentor, sacred storyteller, and professional intuitive. Join me and my amazing guests each week for a deep dive into the exciting world of spirituality. Align with the Divine will inspire you to embrace your innate power to create your reality. It will motivate you to move past your limited thinking, release your subconscious programming, and show you how to live in the present moment with clarity and focus. Get involved with the show. Send your email to patricia@patriciadiorio.com. This is Align with the Divine. Well, hello, and welcome to Align with the Divine with me, Patricia Diorio, your host. I'm delighted every week to bring you a guest interview that will light you up. You know, the guests that I have on my show are experts in their particular field of expertise within the spiritual conversation, within the consciousness conversation. But the one thing that they all have in common, that we all have in common, is what the show is about. That we are divine beings in physical form, align with the divine. So this show is about helping us align with our divine selves on every level. And when we have an opportunity to hear people share about their own experiences, about awakening and about consciousness, it really helps us to move along our own path. So today, I have a wonderful guest, a beautiful woman, inside and out. And her name is Pamala Oslie. And that's Pamela spelled with Pamala. I always remember that about her. And we are old friends and colleagues here in Santa Barbara. We have two things in common, Pamela and I. One is that we both have an interest in quantum physics, but I have to tip my hat to her because she's the one that really helped me to get into quantum physics and to understand quantum physics, and that science and spirituality are the same conversation. The other thing that Pam and I have in common, the fact that both of us are intuitives, professional intuitives. Pamela works with aura colors, and she works with many different modalities. She's brilliantly talented and also a medium, as well as a psychic. I work with a tarot. That's one area that I love to work with. I work with a tarot because the tarot really helps us understand that all the answers are within us. And when we go within and have the courage to ask a question or the desire to ask a question, and we do, and we pick a card face down, we're getting the perfect message from our God self. So that's what my work is about. And I invite you to check it out on my website, alignwiththedivine.net. Go to my tarot page. And if you do and you're interested, I'm going to give you a complimentary reading, a 15-minute reading, a life card reading. So just reach out to me on my website. Just reach out on the contact page. And so, Pamala Oslie, amazing woman. Her vitae is huge, so I'm going to have to go through and pull out the precious plums that I can find, but there are many, many of them. I'm just going to read a little bit of this. Pamala Oslie is a consultant. She's a best-selling author. She has, I believe, 5 books under her belt. She's a visionary, and as I mentioned, a professional psychic and intuitive, and a medium and an aura expert. She has appeared on, get this, ABC, CBS, NBC, The View, Dr. Oz, The Ricky Lake Show, Hallmark's Home and Family, Coast to Coast with George Norrie, Gaia with Lisa Garr, and hundreds of other television and radio. She had a very successful radio show here in Santa Barbara for many, many years. And as I mentioned, she's written 5 successful and popular books, Life Colors, Make Your Dreams Come True. Her latest books are Infinite You and The Truth According to John. So she's the founder of auracolors.com, and that's how I had heard about her. And I want to just share the story because it's a sweet story. I'd heard about Pamala Oslie, and I wanted to have a reading with her because I wanted her to tell me my aura colors. Now, we have aura colors that we come in with when we're born, and we have aura colors that are colors depending on the mood we're in. Like if we're angry and down in the dumps or whatever, down in a low vibration, we're going to show up perhaps as a red or darker. And of course, all of the colors that she reads have She defines exactly what it means to be a particular color. So anyway, I got an appointment with her. I don't know how long I had to wait, but a while. And I never met her before. I knocked on her door and she opened the door and she goes, oh, she says, you are one of the most brilliant blue violets I have ever seen. Well, actually, you're more of a violet than you are a blue, and that's how I met her. And I had a wonderful session with her, and she shared a lot about what blue means and what violet means. Blue is really about service work and being there for people in life and making a difference in their lives in that way, serving. And the violet is about spirituality and expansion and being a visionary and a futurist. And I would say that, from my perspective, it fits me pretty well. So we're going to have a wonderful show tonight. We're going to be talking about quantum physics. We're going to be talking about what's beyond the known here. What is the unknown? Pam talks about dimensions, and I love the conversation. I'm just kind of beginning to dabble with this idea of dimensions. But she says there are many dimensions happening at the same time of who we are in a different lifetime, in a different experience, another dimension. And how do you get to the other dimension? You get it by thinking about it, by being there. And she's going to tell you stories that'll be mind-blowing. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this show. Sit back, relax, and have fun. And whether you're listening or viewing, I know you're going to enjoy this conversation with Pamala Oslie. See you in a few. Pamala, I am so excited to have you here today because I owe you my passion about quantum physics. There is something about quantum physics. For me, it was kind of like I was hanging out on the limb of totally trusting, that we're spiritual beings having human experience and all those years. And then quantum physics starts to show it, to prove it. And I love how science and spirituality are coming together. So I was hearing you speak, in some auditorium somewhere, and you were the person that introduced me to it. So I'd love for you to share with us how you get interested in quantum physics,
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what, Patricia, my whole life, thank you for having me on your show, by the way. My whole life has been basically a quest to have no bigger answers. So I've been spiritual my whole life. And then while I was living in Summerlin, oddly enough, where you are, I got introduced to all kinds of speakers and books and that were very metaphysical and there was quantum physics in it, especially the Seth books. But I started reading those and they resonated, they made sense. And so I explored it more and more and more. And I agree with you. I look at this now and I go, oh my gosh, all the spiritual things that we've been taught for, not religious, spiritual things that the mystics have been teaching us for forever. Now, quantum physics is validating it. It's confirming the whole concept. So I like putting them together. I like being grounded. And understanding why I can do what I can do and the nature of reality. I don't know, to me, it's fascinating. So
yeah, to me too. And I want to ask you, why isn't there so much more information about the work, that you're doing, and Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden and Joe Dispenza and all of these guys that are scientists, scientific backgrounds, that are rocking and rolling, but they have a huge following globally. There's no doubt about it. But when you have 8 billion people, it's a tiny percentage. Why, for example, why isn't Bruce Lipton or Greg Braden or Joe Dispenza, for example, why haven't they been invited to Noetic Science and up in Petaluma, California? They have all these amazing scientists that are coming there talking essentially about the same thing, but they don't go with these guys. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I can say two things. First of all of this information is definitely happening. It's all over the world, even if we don't see it. Remember, I got started doing psychic work like 40 years ago. And at that point, seeing auras and being psychic, all that bit, that was so fringe. It was so like, right?
I know it was.
So like, I'm seeing it everywhere. Look at the fact that that movie that just won all the awards, everything
everywhere all the time or something. Yeah.
That's parallel universes. It's like it's in the mainstream media. And I'm hearing people in the mainstream media talking about manifesting and putting their thoughts out in the universe. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way that happened years ago. So it's out there. So my response to that is, one, I don't know if Greg and Bruce are even interested in Noetic Science, if they've already got their own thing going on and they don't need to go there. Or two, what their beliefs are about it. If they're not being invited to places that they don't want to, then I believe that our beliefs create our reality. So if they're not going to places like that, either they don't want to, or their belief is preventing them from being invited in places like that. But they're outreaching people anyway.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. I guess I just feel that the whole scientific realm of existence and the spiritual have been the same. There's no difference between them, actually, right? And yet there's been this dichotomy around science and spirituality. That's why I really love it. They did I want to share the story with you really quickly. They had an event, Noetic Science, with a British academy. And what they did is they had about 20 speakers, and most of them were older people like me. Most of them were older, and they told the story about how they had these amazing psychic events happen in their lives, but they were so freaked out by losing their accreditation at the university or their fellowship, or telling their colleagues, because they'd be laughed out of the boardroom, that they kept it under the rug. So now they're all coming out and they're all talking about it. And they said they absolutely could not be proved by the scientific method what happened to them. I mean, it was an experience that they knew they had. So it was wonderful. But then what was also great was that they had young women, in their 20s, who were yoga teachers and Reiki healers, who were scientists. Yeah. who had the academic background, and all, were in total tune with that. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Patricia, I'm seeing more and more of this. I mean, I like to watch YouTube now. There's so much of all this information on YouTube. I mean, watching Donald Hoffman, he's a physicist, quantum physicist, and he's on YouTube like crazy and talking to young people and talking to physicists.
What's his name? Donald Foster?
Hoffman, Hoffman. He gets very physics, but he's being interviewed in all kinds of colleges and universities, and he's talking about quantum physics. He's talking about, I just heard him the other day, he's talking about they're discovering things in physics that's beyond quantum physics. He used the analogy. He said, imagine that a baby, from the day it's born, you put virtual reality glasses on it. The whole VR glasses now, right? The big thing, virtual reality, right? Imagine that child is raised that way. And then when they get older and older and older, they take off the virtual reality glasses and see this world. And it's like, whoa, he said, that's what's happening right now in physics, is that in the world is we're starting to take off the VR glasses, that this is not reality. This is it sounds woo-woo, but this is, people have near-death experiences explain how this is not real. This is more of a dream. This is more the Maya, the illusion. And when they go to the other side, everything's much more real. And so this is a physicist saying that. And it blew me away because, I got to stop saying he blew me away, because we're getting a lot of wind.
You be careful.
I would. Anyway, he said that their physics is going beyond quantum physics, that they don't even have the terminology for it yet. Because
how can it go beyond quantum physics? It's like Nassim Harameyn's work, maybe?
Beyond that. He said that there's not even a concept, a place to put it, because everything that we talk about in quantum physics has to do with time and space, right? Time and space, he goes, this is beyond time and space. And so in quantum physics, we still have to take time and space, location, into consideration, but beyond it, there is no such thing. So it's like, wow. So I'm watching things like that, and there's more and more summits showing up and people talking about this, and online and in the main media. So I believe Greg and Bruce Lipton and all those people, they have their audience. They're reaching who they're here to reach. The people at Noetic Sciences, they're reaching whoever they're reaching, but it's all intertwined. We're all doing the same work, just a different language. Yes. So that we reach different audiences, different people, but it's happening.
It's happening and it is exciting. It's exciting. And, let's talk about the paradigm shift because we're in the midst of the paradigm shift. And when COVID happened, I saw a YouTube video of Bruce Lipton, and he was kind of like, I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate that this is actually happening. He said, because it's been happening for so long. And he said, and he kind of leaned in a little bit and he said, it's like humanity has been this caterpillar that's gluttonously eaten all the milkweed leaves and is now in the chrysalis melting down into this mushy elixir, but that eventually is going to result in the monarch butterfly. He said, we're in the breakdown. We're in the mushy stuff now. Yep. And yeah. So anyway, please share your thoughts about it. Because
I was shown the purpose behind COVID. We created COVID to get everyone to stop. Do you see how fast the world shut down? To go inside. We were forced to go inside and be a lot of us did it. I was amazed, Patricia, during COVID, how many of my clients called me up and said, you know what, now that I'm at home and I don't have to go to that job, I don't want to go to that job anymore. I didn't realize how stressed out I was and how unhappy I was. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do what my heart and soul is calling me to do.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. And I got it from so many people. And a lot of people, that's what happened to them. COVID made them stop, go inside. So many people changed their lives during that time. Now, a lot of other people went, la, 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 no, not going to hear it, not going to. And so then they went right back into doing what they were doing or going into fear. But that's okay. There's different experiences here. But that was our purpose behind COVID. And it did its job. I mean, it was a major turning point.
So collectively on a soul level, we made that choice.
It was time to stop and to make a right turn or change it. And so many things have changed because of that.
Yeah. I celebrate it too. I totally agree with Bruce and with you, and that this is what humanity has got to go through. This is taking your head out of the sand and waking up and seeing the reality instead of the virtual reality. Mm. So, I love it. It's a very exciting topic for me because you can see this paradigm shift now happening. We're in the midst of it, but it's so clear. What do you think of the whole political scene?
Well, let me say this first before I go there. Okay. Well, I can put both of those together. All the divisiveness that's happening, that them against us, that it seemed a year or so ago, I went, why is the world so divisive, especially in this country? Everything was so polarized. And then I was shown, because, I get guidance from the other side a lot. I'm able to talk to the other side, to spirit guides, to loved ones on the other side, whatever. I was shown an image of a cell. And they said when a cell's ready to grow, it divides, it pulls apart and divides, not to go its separate ways, but to turn into a larger entity, to turn into something greater. And then it divides again and divides again. And I went, oh, okay, I get it. So then the divisiveness was not that big a deal to me. But I also was shown, because sometimes I got a couple things to tell you. I was also shown, I go, God, it feels like we're going backwards. We'd made so much progress. And then there's this whole thing pulling everything back to the 50s or something. I'm going, what is happening? But what they showed me is a slingshot. Go back and back and back. And then it flies really fast. And I went, okay, I get it. Now, what I was told from the other side is that we're going into a new Renaissance. And we've done Renaissance before. We had the fall of the Roman Empire. Then we went into the Dark Ages, where there was a pandemic, by the way. The Black Death, the Black Plague happened during the Dark Ages. But what emerged out of the Dark Ages was a Renaissance. And it was radically different. Newtonian physics showed up out of that. That's where that emerged. New science, new art, new literature, the printing press. The world wasn't flat anymore. It wasn't the center of the galaxy anymore. It was a radical shift in consciousness. And the people in the Dark Ages couldn't even have fathomed what was going to emerge out of that. But it emerged.
Absolutely.
Now, that took a long time for those phases. I don't know if you've noticed, but things really speed up here. Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is this, and metaphorically, this is what's happening now, but that much more advanced into our evolution.
Well, because in the first Renaissance was what emerged was Newtonian physics. So the whole
Right.
thing, Newton is just basically that we're a big machine. Everything's a big machine, cause and effect, big machine. The universe is a machine. The solar system's a machine. Our bodies are machines, right? And I mean biological machines, but machines.
Yeah.
The new Renaissance is going to be based on quantum physics, which is energy and consciousness.
Energy and consciousness. And I just thought of it, the whole AI thing. That has to be really tempered. What's going on there?
Well, you know what? Here's the deal, Patricia. First of all, I believe that we're very adventurous souls, and we came here for the experience. We didn't come here. It's not linear. There's no such thing as time over there. So all our lives are happening simultaneously. So we're not karmically being punished for something we did in our last lifetime. They're all happening right now. And anyone that's got an NDE experience will tell you that. And a lot of them will say, I saw all my lifetimes over there still happening simultaneously. So we're here for the experience. And all of us that are here on the planet right now signed up specifically for this time because we knew this was going to be happening and we wanted to either help it, be part of it, or to go for the ride, to experience it, to go, wow, look at how much it's changing. So I believe that we're all having experiences here and we're different souls, but we're all part of the whole, part of source, part of God, part of whatever you want to call expressions of all that is, whatever word you want to put to the source.
Yeah, right? Source of God.
We're all having experiences to add to the experience of the source so it can experience itself, right? So there's no judgment. I have a tendency not to go into fear. So I mean, you look at it and they go, oh my gosh, you know that when the train first came out, they said, oh my gosh, the train, people can't travel at 40 miles an hour. It'll crush the body, will explode. That's what they thought when the train came out. When books first came out, they said, oh no, if books come out, people will be reading and no one's going to talk to anybody again. It's like, what? So they go into the fear side of it, the negative. But, you know, most of our technology right now is based on quantum physics.
Yep.
It's energy. It's bits of information and it's energy. So I see it as a positive. I see it as revealing to us what we're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Telepathy, non-local mind, entanglement. It's all part of quantum physics. So I don't have fear about it. Now, there's always going to be people that are going to look for the negative, for the fear-based, for the downside.
Yeah.
And you know that our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs create our reality. So I'm not going there. I'm not afraid of it. I'm fascinated. Look at, if we didn't have technology during COVID,
I don't know what would have happened. Oh my, I don't, yeah. It's all
perfect. We're all connected now. The kids, everybody, we can see what's going on the other side of the world like instantaneously. I didn't grow up with that. We didn't have cell phones when we were growing up. We didn't have computers. We didn't have anything.
It's a very, very exciting time. And, you know, I've had the audacity in my summits actually saying, you know, it's really time that we move past believing in God and knowing we're God. And I've been using the God word. And, you know, people think it's a bit audacious of me, but, you know, it's gotten a bad rap because of all the religious stuff around it. And so you can use the word source, force, universe. Uncle Charlie, a friend of mine, used to say, it doesn't make any difference what you call it. It's that energy where we're all infinitely and what's the word I'm thinking of? Connected. We just know it's a palpable thing. We know it. And now with how all of the communication has expanded globally and people are connecting. So, you know, the positive side of the technology is that it's made the world so much more accessible for everybody, right? And on the other side, you know, you've got too much technology moving into the whole AI thing, which Greg Braden talks about quite a bit. He's opposed to what is it called? Transhumanism, something like that. So we're in an exciting time. And it's kind of like I shake my fist at God one day and I go, hey, you know, why am I not 50? Why am I not 58 instead of 70 doing this work?
But see, that's the thing. The consciousness is going to shift. Oh my gosh, there's so much going on out there. Matter of fact, real quick, I'll insert this. It's really one of the other things that technology's helped us do is help people keep alive longer, like that would have died, but they got brought back. They had a heart attack. They had a near-death experience and they got brought back. and can share what they saw. There's so much of that. If you want to, it's mind blowing to go on YouTube and look at all the near death experiences. Like Jeff Mara's podcast has a lot of them. IANS has a lot of them.
Jeff Mars, M-A-R-S?
Jeff Mara, M-A-R-A. He interviews all these people that have had near death experiences, and they're coming back with amazing stories, including where we're headed and what's going on and who we really are and the nature of reality. So I'm watching that, and we get to see more of that now because more and more people are being brought back to life, and they're not dying, and then we don't know what happened.
So we're getting firsthand information from them coming back. And well, look at what's his name that wrote Proof of Heaven? Oh,
Eben Alexander.
Yes, Eben Alexander. I mean, that's an incredible story of a guy that was pretty much of an atheist, although he went to church with his family, and and
so there's a lot of information out there now, Patricia, and it's getting more and more and more. I mean, thank goodness for technology. There's always there's gonna be people that can use it for not good and people that can use it for good. I put my energy into the positive, into the life affirming, because then my life ends up that way. I don't want to feed the fear. Just the same reason I don't go to horror movies. I don't go to.
No, I don't do anything like that either. Yeah.
Horror movies. No. I don't feed my energy. It's not an interest to me, but people love those. There's other people that love.
I know it. Yesterday, honest to God, I was getting my nails done yesterday, and my nail technician who owns the salon, he started telling me about this Netflix thing he saw that was a horrible story of something that happened when the guy that went into the woods and there was a cat. And I'm going, why would you even watch that? And he goes, whoa, it really scared me. I don't know. Maybe people need to be scared because they have such dull lives. I don't know what
we're all here for different experiences.
Yeah, I suppose.
A lot of people like to go to horror movies because they like the adrenaline and the fear and the emotion of it. We get addicted to our emotions, Patricia. Mm. We're one of the reasons we're here is for feelings and emotions, to experience all that. I like the happy, the positive, the fun one. Other people are here. They like the intensity and the feeling and the drama, and that's why they like watching the news, things like that. It's like, okay, no judgment about them, but oh my gosh, I have a cousin that likes watching those judge shows.
Oh, I know. I share my place with another woman downstairs, and she watches all those Judge Judy shows and stuff. I'm going, why do you? And she watches all this stuff. She did the police movie and the fireman, and I said, why do you watch that when there's
for the feeling? But my cousin now ended up getting into a lot of lawsuits. And she and her husband ended up getting sued and having to sue somebody else. And I go, that's what you get for watching those. Don't watch those things. It puts it in your consciousness, but she likes them. I'm not going to judge what she's doing here.
Yeah.
We're all having our own experiences.
That's right.
I just choose. That's why I'm not afraid of a Terminator. It's like, that's not going to be we're going to talk about parallel universes, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, I was just about to go there. Yeah.
That's one of the things that we can discuss in parallel universes. Let's talk about quantum physics has discovered that parallel universes are a real thing. Okay. And so watch. Aerodynamics has been around forever. We didn't know about it until whenever. Then once we discovered aerodynamics was real, we discovered we had the ability to get on planes and fly places, right? So when science discovers new things, it's like, all right, now how can we use that for our benefit? If parallel universes are a real thing, what can we do with them, right?
Is this the work of David Deutsch?
He is one of the, I got to spend hours and hours with him.
I remember I heard you speaking about him. I'll never forget his name.
Yeah, David Deutsch. He's not spiritual, but he's definitely a quantum physicist, and his whole thing, his whole focus is on parallel universes. So let me describe in lay terms what parallel universes are, because they're outrageous. They sound like science fiction, but remember, a lot of things that once sounded like science fiction are now science fact, right? I mean, space travel and airplanes and cell phones and sliding doors. Science fiction, we got those first from Star Trek. Anyway, so parallel universes, basically what they're saying is every time you make a choice, let's say you decided to wear this color today, or live where you're living right now, but another you decided something else, there's a you, an actual you that split off and is wearing this today, but another you that split off and is having a different experience, chose to do something else. There's a you that married somebody you knew in high school, and you've got 5 kids. There's another you that never got married. There's another you that doesn't live in Summerlin or Santa Barbara. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Every time you made a choice, an aspect of you, that's how, I mean, we're told we're immortal and we're eternal. So it's not just that your soul's squeezed into this one little body and one little lifetime. We're infinite beings. So I'm going to describe it in lay terms so that this doesn't freak people out.
Okay, good.
This is the analogy I use. Right now, in the room you're in right now, there's at least 10 radio stations broadcasting shows. Okay. The radio waves are all around you, but they're not part of your reality because you're not tuned into them. But if you went to your radio, turned it on, well, we're in Santa Barbara, so 99.9, right? You're going to hear the music and the talk that's coming out of K-Tide, out of that station. That becomes your reality. Now, if you change the station over to 101.7, now all of a sudden you're listening to a different station, different music, different talk. That becomes your reality. Now, 99.9 is still there. It's all around you, but it's not part of your reality because you're not tuned into that frequency because it's all energy and frequency.
That is a fabulous, fabulous metaphor to explain it. It's like radio frequencies.
Yeah. Well, it's all frequencies. That's what physics is talking about. So anyway, so they're all happening simultaneously. I mean, physicists are saying even that there's an Earth happening, that the Germans won the war and we're all speaking German. There's another one where the Earth blew up and that reality happened. There's another one where whatever, all of those still exist. And that's physics. They're saying parallel universes. Now, we're able to use those to change our lives. I believe that people that have had spontaneous remission, like Anita Morjani,
yeah,
died from cancer, and then had a near-death experience. When she came back, no cancer in her body, none. And she was riddled with cancer. She died from it. She went to a coma and died from cancer, and then came back, no cancer in her body.
And look at Eben Alexander. No, he had no more cerebral cortex. It was eaten away by the virus, and he came back and he was fine, and now he's out lecturing.
Yeah. So that's, to me, a parallel universe. Now, we believe that we can change the radio station if we don't like the song that's on. We believe if we're watching something on TV, we don't like it, we can just change the channel. We change the frequency. We don't know that we can do that with our lives. We don't know that we can do that with our lives because, Patricia, we've been taught to believe there's only one reality. That's the truth. Just like we thought there was only one continent, and then one planet, and then one solar system, and then one galaxy, right? And we're finding out, oh my gosh, and now different dimensions, right? So people,
I just want to intersect something here that I thought of. I don't know where I got this from, but someone said that a lifetime is like one grain of sand on all the beaches in the world. I mean, think about that. Is there even a number? There wouldn't even be a number, right? It's infinite.
We're infinite. So we're now learning that we have infinite number of lifetimes just in this lifetime, that you're in different frequencies, having different experiences. You just don't know that. So I've used those to radically change my life consciously. So, I mean, there are people out there that still believe
conscious choice. That's it.
Conscious choice. So honestly, when they said that the new Renaissance is coming, what that meant, what they showed me was a radical shift in us believing who we are and the nature of reality, and how everything's going to change. There won't be need for money. The healthcare stuff is going to be completely different because our consciousness, we're going to know. They're telling me it's basically heaven on earth. We don't have to die now to be able to.
That's what I have been holding for a very, very long time.
Yeah, but they're showing me it's like right here. And it's amazing because I watched some of these videos on people that have had near-death experiences, and a lot of them were saying the same thing. Oh, you guys were right here. It's on the precipice. Everything's going to change radically and quickly, but in a positive way. I do psychic readings. So I've tuned into, like, my niece, for example. I saw her future. It was like, oh my gosh, she was traveling the world. She was happy. It's like there were no borders. There were no boundaries. There was no poverty. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It was such a positive future I saw for her. I went, this is going to happen at least in her lifetime. And these NDE people, near-death experience people, are saying it's happening in our lifetime. Okay. And years ago, Patricia, I spoke at science and consciousness conferences, and this was like easily 30 years ago that I was a speaker at some of these 20 and 30 years ago. And back then, the physicists were saying they know how to stop the aging process. They know how to, now they're working on, back then they were working on reversing the aging process. Back then, 20, 30 years ago, they said, we believe there are people alive today that are going to live to 500 years old or 1,000 years old. And some of them said, we believe that there are people alive today that will experience immortality.
Really?
Not because we're bonded with machines. That's one way to go. People could do it that way. But because
Excuse me, what did you say? Bonded to machines? What?
Like the people that think that we're going to become Terminator, that they're going to put our consciousness into machines. Well, that's one way to go.
AI, yeah.
We can do it that way. Or we can just, they said our genes are not programmed for death. Our genes are only programmed, our DNA is only programmed for life. So we shouldn't be aging. We shouldn't be getting sick. We shouldn't even be dying. It's really? Our beliefs. And so that's what's going to start shifting with our consciousness. Well, look at what quantum physics is saying. There's nothing solid to us.
I know.
They go in there at the quantum level and they go, we can't find anything solid. We think the atom's the smallest, then we find out, no, that's not the smallest. Subatomic particles in a lot of space. Oh my gosh, subatomic particles, that's not even the smallest. Maybe it's vibrating strings in a lot of space. They can't find anything solid. And so that was the big gap, is like the quantum world. It's like, well, in the quantum world, there's nothing solid. It's all just energy and probabilities, right? And consciousness. Well, yeah, but in the macro world, then there's physical. It's like, that can't be if it's made of this. If it's made of things that don't exist, it's just energy. That means our bodies are just energy too.
Our bodies are just energy too. Well, what I've been doing is, I wrote a speech recently called A New Age of Aging, because I do a lot of speaking with Toastmasters and organizations like that. Anyway, and what I said is that there's 3 things that really promote longevity. The first is obvious, diet, obviously. Second is obvious, exercise. But the secret with the special sauce, the most important ingredient that we could possibly have, is mindset.
Yeah. Well,
what we think about ourselves, what we think about our bodies, what we think about our aging process, all of that.
That's the most important thing, Patricia. We age because we believe in it.
I know.
Consciousness, that's what they're showing in quantum physics, is that it's our consciousness that creates reality. Our thoughts are creating reality. And there's really nothing to it. It's an illusion. It's Maya. It's a dream. We just want to have fun with the dream. We want to consciously create the dream. So believe me, I'm vegetarian. I eat healthy, drink a lot of water. I exercise, all that stuff. But that's still a belief. That's still a belief. We're believing in that. I mean, that's the placebo effect. If we believe something is going to do it, it does it. So it's like, okay, I start rebelling and going, I don't feel like exercising today, so I'm not going to believe that I have to do that to be healthy.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely correct. And I have to tell you that this interview today it really is like sitting down with you and over a cup of tea. I feel so renewed and refreshed with this information, because I've been feeling like I've been a stranger in a strange land my whole life. That people I look okay, but when they start talking to me, the eyeballs start rolling. So I can totally understand. And I just wanted to say that this is like drinking a cool, fresh glass of water, listening to you talk about all this, because I totally am in alignment with you there. That's it.
Yay. Well, you know what, Patricia, I think what's going on out there is a reflection of what's going on inside. And I don't know about you, but I've got like 1 foot in the old world and 1 foot in the new. I know all of this stuff. Physics is proving this stuff. It's validating it. It's showing. Quantum physics is saying it's energy. That's why we have cell phones and satellites and all our technology, physics, which is just energy, right? But then this old convincing world of it's solid and we're going to age and we can get sick and you have to work hard for your money and you have to do all this stuff. And I go, oh my gosh, that's such old beliefs. So what we're shifting into is freeing up from that and see that our thoughts matter. I mean, look at our stuff with and look at how they're creating cryptocurrency. They're bringing it out of nothing. It's like they're creating it out of technology. There's nothing there. It's
do you know what, excuse me for interrupting you. I'm sorry.
Well, but I realized that's what we're doing with paper money. There's no gold behind our paper money anymore. It's all just made up. We're playing Monopoly.
It is, and remember David Icke from years ago? He said that. But I listened to a wonderful webinar, Greg Braden. I really love his work. And the title of the webinar was Bitcoin, the currency of peace. Currency of peace. And you ought to listen to it if you really want to get clear on blockchain and crypto and all of that. It was fabulous. He really, and he made the analogy to the human body and to the DNA, and
it's all frequency, it's all energy. But we're going to get to the point where we won't need any of that, because you don't need to buy things if you know how to manifest from the field. If you can I'm looking at just what the technology is showing us we're going, and we're going to go beyond even the technology. I mean, they're 3D printing houses. They're 3D printing, they're 3D printing everything just out of, and they're going to be now this is going to freak you out a little bit, but they're going to be 3D printing food.
Okay. I don't understand what you mean, 3D printing.
You don't know about 3D printing? It's computerized. They just put the program in there, and there's a substance, like they're 3D printing houses out of concrete and some substance that's like mud. And they program it into this device, this computer, and the computer starts layering it and creates it. It starts creating it. Look it up. They're 3D printing. I mean, they're using it. My brother uses it at his work. He works at
starts creating the image in 3D.
It creates the actual product.
How does it do that?
Because you've got the concrete over here, you've got the plan, and the machine just starts 3D printing. It's like a printer, but it's 3D printing it.
My goodness.
That's been going on for a long time. My brother's been using that in his engineering practice for years. So, but they're going to be, it's like the Jetsons. They're going to be 3D printing food out of organic material, right? So it's like we're doing, like I eat veggie burgers, right? But it's not meat, but it's still being created out of living substance, out of food. But after a while, we're just going to know how to manifest it out of the ethers, because it's all just.
I love this conversation.
Well, that's how we create everything. Look at a seed has got the tree in it.
Yeah.
Got the tree in it. And as it grows, where's all that substance coming from? As it grows into a tree, it's pulling it, it's bringing it out from the unseen, from the field.
From the field, yeah. What do you think of Nassim's work? You know Nassim Haramein?
Yeah, he was on my show a few times too. I think I like that these guys are reaching that audience, and then people like Deepak Chopra are reaching that audience, and Jean Houston is reaching her audience, and you're reaching your audience. We're all basically saying the same thing. It's just like the consciousness is changing. Our understanding of reality is changing, and it's radical.
Well, what's really interesting is that the word consciousness itself, I can remember many times at conferences and stuff where Bruce and Greg and Joe and Candace Pert and people like that were speaking. And the bottom line at the end of this particular 3-day seminar, everyone was in one room, like 1,000 people. Essentially, Joe Dispenza said this. He said that they still don't know what consciousness is. They still don't know. They said, but just keep going, keep going. And
well, the physicist, Joe lives here, right?
Yes, I understand that.
Went into him downtown. So
he's around all over the world, though.
Yeah. So he's got a place up in Washington and one here in Santa Barbara. So anyway, wait, what were we talking about? Consciousness. Okay. So in the early 1900s, when quantum physics first emerged, Max Planck, Schrodinger, Heisenberg, they all with their research, they went, consciousness is fundamental. It's like, it's fundamental. It's at the base of everything we're experiencing, everything we're seeing. That's why Einstein didn't like what they were saying. They go, I choose to believe that the moon exists whether or not I'm looking at it. And Schrodinger and Heisenberg going, Nope, it doesn't. It does not exist, even if you're not looking at it. If there's no observer, because we're creating reality. And he didn't like that. So anyway, at the beginning of the 1900s, when quantum physics was emerging, these guys were on it. They actually said, consciousness is fundamental. In other words, it's the basis of everything that's going on. Now, then the war hit, and all the scientists got pulled into having to deal with the war machine and the atomic bomb and blah, 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 all that stuff, right? So it got pulled aside. But now it's reemerging. Now the physicists are like, hey, it's almost like they're being forced to look at consciousness. So there's a lot out there. Donald Hoffman's talking about it. Deepak's talking about it. A lot of physicists now are talking about it.
Yeah, Amit Goswami, remember him? Do you know Amit? I had him on the show years ago, and I heard he was at Lobero, and he said, he defined consciousness. He said, consciousness is the ground of all being.
Yes.
He stood at the podium and he said, this podium does not exist. Right. That's how he opened his speech. And anyway, the ground of all being, I always remembered that.
Anyway, I love him. So basically, that's what they're saying. Now, the reason we've been so hypnotized into believing that things are physical, plus there's a part of us, Patricia, that doesn't want to lose the physical. It's like, I want to go eat ice cream. I want to walk on the beach. I want to smell flowers. I want to go travel to, Hawaii. I want the experience. So I feel like what we want to do is emerge so that we realize that our consciousness is creating all this, so that we get over the victim consciousness. So we get over the helplessness, like we're victims, it's them against us, we're being, it's like, no, we're waking up to realize that we're creating the movie, we're creating the dream. And I mean, you know me, I've been able to do advanced things for a long time. I mean, I teach people how to be psychic, how to do remote viewing, how to talk to the other side, because it's just a frequency. It's just another dimension.
You're able to access the frequency. Yeah.
How to bend spoons, mind over matter, how to see auras and energy fields. I teach people that because I can do all of those things. And if I can do that, that means everyone can, right? I mean, some people are better piano players than others, but we can also play chopsticks, right? So our consciousness is expanding. And the reason I like talking to people about this is because it makes life more fun, more interesting, more expansive, more loving, more compassionate.
Okay, so I want give us some stories. A couple of stories. The story I want you to tell is about when your dad was passing and you went back east, right? And I would tell that story. And then I'd like to know, how has your life, Pamela Oslie's life, changed as a result of this awareness? I'd love to know that. Give us some stories.
Ton of those stories, but my dad's story is one of the more dramatic ones. So I got called by my brother in Ohio. Dad's dying. You got to get here right now. They're saying he's like out of it. He's hallucinating. He's ready to go. So I went there, walked in the room. There's 4 of us. I have 3 siblings. Walked into the room. He was gone. I mean, he had his eyes open, but he had no idea we were in the room. But here's the interesting thing. When I walked in there, and this is usually when I know somebody's getting ready to leave, my grandmother, who had already passed, I saw her in the room with him. She was standing right next to his head. I saw 3 of his siblings in the room with him, all who had passed. They were on the other side. I saw his brother and 2 of his sisters there. And I went, wow, okay. And again, my dad had no idea we were in the room. He wasn't with it. He wasn't there. So every day we would go into the room, 4 days in a row. We'd go into the room. And then on the 4th day, I remember getting in the car with my siblings and thinking to myself, wait a minute, parallel universes. Am I ready to lose my dad? Do I want him to be able to go now? Am I ready for that? And I went, no. And I went, okay. I heard number 1, parallel universes. So I could shift into a universe where everything's fine. And number 2, and again, I'm not religious. I was raised religious. I graduated from Westmont College, which is a Christian college. So I've got all that background. I went, I know that Christ said, the things you see me do, you will do also. And
greater things than these you'll do. Yeah.
That's right. And he raised people from the dead. So I go, okay, I'm calling on both of those. If that's really possible, I am moving into a parallel universe where there's nothing wrong with my dad. He's fine. He's not dying. Everything's fine. And I basically declared it to Christ. I went, hey, you said we could do these things. I immersed myself in it. I saw him fine. I believed in it. I shifted into that parallel universe. And we went back the next day, Patricia. And I remember that 4 days we had gone in there and he was gone. We walked in on the 5th day and he was sitting up in bed, eyes wide open. We walked in, he went, "Oh, you guys, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. When did you get here?" Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my gosh. It was like different. Now, here's the cool thing too. So basically he did not pass. He lived for another couple years. So anyway, the cool thing is when I went over to hug him and he said, "Is my mom, and my brother, is my brother still alive? Because I saw him just as clear as I'm seeing you." And I go, "Well, Dad, yes, he's still alive, but not in his body." And he goes, "Because I saw him, I saw them put his body in the ground. I was at his funeral. I saw my brother dead. I just saw him alive." And he talked about it over and over and over again. He couldn't understand. And he saw his mom. And I go, "Dad, no, I know you saw them. I saw them in the room with you too." He could not
Wow.
if they were
And
still
how did you grow up with, I mean, when did this start happening? I know sounds like we're going backwards here, but as a child, when did you start noticing that you had these amazing powers?
I didn't know that. I didn't know I had these. I started doing this about 40 years ago. And I walked into, remember, I'm a Westmont graduate, okay? You're not supposed to be able to do all this stuff. I lost a lot of friends for a while over this. Anyway, I went to hear a psychic speak and I walked into the room and he said, "You up here, you know how to do this too." And I went, what? So he kind of just threw me in the water and I realized I was seeing things about people that I'd never even met before. And I knew things about them. Like I knew a woman was pregnant. She didn't even know she was pregnant. For the first time, Patricia, I saw the spirit of a little girl standing next to her. Never seen that before in my life. She went and found out she was pregnant. She had a little girl.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
So basically, but then after that, I went, oh, and I started looking back at my life, and I went, no wonder that I knew that was going to happen, or no wonder I had that experience, right? I started putting the pieces together, but I wasn't raised to know about psychic stuff. I wasn't raised to know about auras. I wasn't raised to know any of that stuff. We all have it. It's a natural ability that we all have. We've just been raised to either one, believe it's not possible, that's woo-woo and California weirdos and, or scams, tricksters, or that we shouldn't do it because it's bad. So fortunately, I didn't have any of that going on. It was like, nope, let's do it. Let's go for it. I like it. See what we're capable of.
Amazing. Amazing. So, okay. So I want to know how your life personally, how you were impacted, how you consciously chose, you made a choice about your life that this was going to happen or that whatever.
Once I started exploring all this stuff, now, it's been a process, it's like walking. I didn't all of a sudden I got it and bam, everything happened. Like even when I first started seeing auras and doing psychic readings, I was afraid every time somebody would come to see me, I was afraid I wasn't going to get anything. Oh, what if I fail? What if I can't pick up anything? But it always happened. So it was fine. It's changed my life dramatically in a number of ways, especially manifesting, having desires of things and they show up magically, like having a desire to go to Hawaii and going, oh, I can't go right now. How would I go there? I don't have a place to stay. Where would I, blah, 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 blah. And the next day having a brand new client call me up and go, I love the reading you just gave me. I have a place in Maui. Do you want to go stay on it? Yeah. It's like having the thought of like, I go, yeah, it'd be kind of fun to go to Rio, to go to Brazil. What an interesting country. I've never been to a place like that. Oh, well. And within, I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 weeks, my cousin calls me up and goes, hey, one of my clients just gave me 2 business class tickets to go to Rio. You want to go with me? Yeah. Things like that have happened over and over again. The relationship that I have in my life is because I understood parallel universes. And I stepped into a universe where I had that, where that love was there for me. And it changed everybody else around me too, because I stepped into another universe where everybody was in relationship and happy. So it's changed everything, Patricia. I'm not saying that the old hypnosis isn't still there. It's like I broke my foot. It's like I've never broken anything before in my life. I broke my foot. It's like, what is that? But I remember having a lot of compassion for people that I saw. I saw somebody hobbling across the street and I went, oh my gosh, that must be so hard. I wonder, I had compassion. And then shortly after that, I fell and broke my foot. It's like, well, okay, you've had that experience. So I tell people I believe we only suffer for 2 reasons. One, we've forgotten who we are and that we're creating this, and we have the free will and the ability to change it all.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason we suffer, is we've forgotten who we are. The second reason we suffer is we're doing it for the experience. Okay.
We need to do it because our soul is guiding us to have the experience.
But it wants to. It's like, well, we're curious. I mean, we're eternal beings. What else are we going to do?
I know.
It's like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, what's that like? Oh, that's why people hike mountains or jump out of airplanes, or
right.
They want to know what it feels like.
I have to ask you this. I have to ask you this because it's been such a huge part of my life. Have you heard of I Am the Word, Paul Selig's work?
Uh-huh.
You have. That has really rocked my world. I've been working with the text every day for the last 8 years, and I've incorporated it as the text I work with in my circles. And it's a vibrational thing. It's about ascension while you're in the body. So as you do this work and as you pay attention to what your thoughts are and put them out into the field, and you will start vibrating at a higher and higher frequency. And they talk about the upper room. In the upper room, there's absolutely no fear. It's the highest vibration you can hold while you're in the body without going poof. So they call it the Christed frequency, where, and as you do the work and keep your intentions pure and focused, you'll just keep raising your frequency. I'm vibrating at a different frequency than 8 years ago when this book came into my life. There's no question about it, and I deal with my fears differently. I mean, I have a perspective that's the watcher watching. That's like true magic lies in the eye of the witness. So it's almost like I'm witnessing my life. So as I hear you talk about this, Pamela, I love it because I know that I can make those changes in my life by knowing that there's a parallel reality where, where I would like to be and how I would like to be living, and all of that is happening already. I just need to go there with my thinking instead of going down that rabbit hole feeling like I'm a victim of the world and I'm too old and this, that, and the other thing.
That's exactly right, Patricia. It's all thought. It's all thought. It's all
everything begins with the thought.
And I tell people, you don't know you're dreaming until you wake up. Okay. So we just want to be conscious creators. So absolutely. Here's the cool thing about understanding parallel universes. And that's just a framework to put it in. It's basically we're creating reality. The reason I like the parallel universe concept is because when I was in one universe that I didn't like, I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't fulfilled. In our old framework, we have to work on healing our past and change our beliefs and forgive or change the outer circumstances.
A lot of work.
It's really a lot of work. Okay, so all I did was I dropped that one. I stopped feeding it in, stopped believing in it, and I put my energy over into universe number 5, where I believed in that one, and I put my energy into it, where I was happy. And How
did you put your energy into it? Did you do visualization and imagination? Like imagination allows us to be there before we get there. I love that quote.
Yeah, well, I like Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge because what we think we know limits us. So I went into a meditation and I imagined and I felt it, and I felt it in my body. I felt it in my feelings. I felt it in my emotions. I thought about it. I knew it was a real world. So I didn't have to overcome anything. I didn't have to change someone else. I didn't have to overcome anything. I didn't have to work hard at it. I just went over here and stepped into it and aligned with that belief, that knowing it was a real world.
So you literally manifested it, and you literally chose the thought. You put it out there. It wasn't even a belief that you have. It was really more of a knowing that you had the power to do that.
And the parallel universes are a real thing.
Yeah, they're
a real thing. It's like if they're real, and we've got the example of changing the TV station or changing the radio station. We know those are real. They're different channels. They're different.
But you don't hear them all because you're not tuned into them. It makes just total sense.
Yep.
So, the book, I Am the Word, also, 3 things I love about it. It's about raising the vibration of the body. All right. And just doing the work, holding the book, reading the book, whatever. And there's 10 books now. And the second is they have really helped me to go beyond the known, because the known is in the past. So they say, I'm willing to experience history, definition, and collective agreement, as done. That's the past. And this is the now moment. It's like really being aligned in the now moment. And the third thing this work has given me is it's brought me from believing in it and having an intellectual conversation about God, spiritual beings, having human experience, PRTR, Desjardins, all of this stuff, to a knowing.
Yeah.
So it's not just belief is from the intellect, or knowing is like in every cell of the body. It's in my heart, and that's where I've come.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful. Anyway, yeah. I acknowledge I am the word, the book, and the guides call themselves Melchizedek. Their assignment was to help humanity through this transitional time.
Getting a lot of that help. We're getting a lot of that help from all over. So it is about embodying it now. It's about living it. It's about living. It's about knowing it and living it. Now, I don't know about, are you perfect at it all the time? I'm not perfect at it yet.
No, absolutely. No, darling, I haven't manifested any parallel universes. Well, I'll tell you that over the last 8 years, there's been a lot of change. And a big part of that process has been my experience with my friend Jack, that has really, really helped me to grow so much and give me such a perspective on, choices that I was making. It's been very profound.
Patricia, we're changing parallel universes all the time. We just don't know that because there's not seams and doorways, but you're living in Summerlin versus Santa Barbara. You're living in, do you understand? Every time you're wearing this color today instead of, white. Do you know what I mean? It's like every time you make a choice, there's another you that's split off. So there's an infinite number of you, even on this planet, in this realm. So again, we only think there's one reality. So that's what we focus on. And so we think that's the only one that's real, but it's not. When you start expanding and opening up, it's like, wow. So it's changed me a lot because I do a lot of observing. I do a lot of, if I have a judgment about something, I go, oh, it's a lot more of, oh, that's interesting. It's like, I'm not interested in getting in the mud with people. I'm not interested in.
Absolutely.
It's like, it's not that much fun to me. It's like once in a while I find it interesting to watch it and go, wow, that's interesting. But it's not from a judgmental part of view. It's more, oh, that's interesting that those souls are choosing that in this lifetime. I wonder where's the reflection in me.
When the war broke out in Ukraine and the Russian, all of that fiasco, I knew what I needed to do. I needed to lift up Putin. I needed to lift up the bad guys because they're also God having a human experience. And that's the choices. Those are the choices that they're making right now. But, to get into the commiseration of it and being, all of that doesn't serve us. So it's really, I hope that there's a community on the planet now that sees that as the way to go, to lift up the bad guys, because that's the only way they're going to be able to make other choices if it's their destiny to do that.
Yeah, because everything that's coming from fear and scarcity. The way I see it too, the way I perceive what's going on in my world is that it's an expression of me. That everything I'm seeing out there, I'm seeing from my perspective of my issues. So if I've got a judgment of somebody, I go, well, they're not telling the truth. And I go, okay, do I ever get to a point where I'm not telling the truth? Yeah, sometimes I fudge, I tell the white lies. It's not to that extreme, but I look at that and I change this inside and the outside changes. So I look at anything out there as my dream. If you're having a dream, you don't go in your dream and beat somebody up in your dream. It's like you go, now, why would I dream that? What's going on in my consciousness that showed up in my dream? So, because otherwise we're seeing it as separate. We're seeing everybody as separate. Like I need to love them so that they change. It's like, well, you're in a parallel universe.
What about you?
The other day, and someone said, well, what about all these people that are, screwing up the environment and hurting the animals? And I go, well, one, if you're in this parallel universe, you can do something about it. You can have compassion. You can be upset. You can march against it. You can come up with solutions for it. Or what are you doing in that universe where you believe that exists? Because there's another universe where none of that is happening. We're respecting the environment. We love it. And the animals have their soul choices and they know what they're doing. And the universe is here. Look what we just did we got out of the drought, like a couple weeks, it's like we shifted things. So one of the answers is, what are you doing in a parallel universe where you believe in that? Are you just having the experience, or do you want something to rail against, or do you want something that helps you have compassion? Do you understand? So it's like, we're in the universe. You're going to experience the reality that you believe in.
And you're going to experience the reality that your soul wants you to experience, because we're here to learn. Our soul, I believe that our soul's here to learn. And which is why we choose the lives that we choose and the people that we have in them and all. And one of the points that the guides make in the book is that our soul's here to learn, but our Christed consciousness is just here to be, vibrating at that high frequency. And what they would say, he says, when you raise your frequency and you're vibrating at a high frequency, you even move past karma, because karma is vibrating at a low frequency and you bypass it.
Yeah. So that's why I believe that we're here for the experience. Where we came from was all. It was all. We were already in perfection.
Yeah, that's right.
So in the experience, we can learn. We can go to movies to learn, or we can go just to have the emotional feeling, or the romantic drama, or the romantic comedy. I mean, we have experiences. Sometimes we learn from them. Sometimes it's just for the experience. Okay. So it's all of that above, but I don't feel like we came here because we had to learn. We are learning how to evolve, or how to grow more, or how to be more loving or more compassionate. But I don't feel like, because they're all happening simultaneously. So if you have a life in the year 3015, are you learning there? Or are you just having a different experience? Because you have future lives also.
It's really mind-bending. Spoon bending, mind bending.
And again, I just share with people what I've been shown, what I know is more expansive, and I don't like boundaries. So I'll go for the more expansive, more loving, more positive, more encouraging, more uplifting beliefs.
Are you a Sagittarius? Are you Sag? I remember that. I remember you're a Sagittarius. Yeah.
And I'm not going to try and change somebody else to think like me, because they're here having their experience. And it benefits the whole. It benefits God. It benefits source to have different experiences.
Do you find your family and friends in alignment with you? I think your friends, of course, would be, but what about your family, and where does Bo stand around it?
Oh, I have there's no two people in my life that are alike. So I've got metaphysical friends and spiritual friends. I've got born again religious friends. I've got atheist friends. I've got my poker playing friends. I've got, so some of them, they don't believe in this stuff at all, and they don't care. We're all still friends. We hang out. We do fun things, right? I have friends I can have these deep conversations with, like this. Bo, it's like, yeah, he believes a lot of this stuff, but he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't care. He wants to go play music. It's not his purpose for being here. It's not his passion. It's my passion.
It's your passion. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's my passion too, which is why this conversation has been an absolute delight, and it will be the length it is. It'll be edited, and we didn't even need to have to stop and take anything out or any mistakes out. I love that. Gosh. Well, I have to ask you, are you still seeing clients? Because I was thinking of coming to see you.
Oh, I stopped seeing people in 2022. I have been seeing, Patricia, 6 to 8 people a day since 1984. So 37 years, 6 to 8 people a day. And I listened to my soul.
Yeah.
And my guidance said, first of all, it told me to move. I had been living in Mission Canyon for 22 years. And I kept hearing, you're going to move. And I went, no, I like my view. Don't make me move. It's too much work. I don't want to move that. So a few years ago, I heard, move. And I went, okay, I'm moving. I'm moving.
You're not living where you were before?
No. I have a great place. I've got like 300-degree views. But just 2 months after I moved, I watched the Thomas Fire from my windows. My whole neighborhood where I used to live was evacuated. They couldn't go back to their homes for 5 weeks. So I got moved out, and I didn't get traumatized by it. They're still traumatized by it. So that helped. And then I heard, you need to stop. So I stopped doing my radio show. I stopped writing books for now. I stopped doing all my workshops. I was still seeing clients because that was my income, right? And what I was still helping people. And then last year I heard, you need to stop or you're going to get sick. And I went, okay, I'm listening to you. So I stopped seeing clients. I still have projects going on. I still have my courses and stuff like that. But I'm listening to that guidance because I'm ready to go to new levels. And I noticed that if I was seeing 6 to 8 people a day and doing my radio show and writing and doing workshops, I was teaching, I wasn't going to the next level. And my passion now is to live what we've been talking about.
Yes, me too. I'm right there with you, but I'm way behind you.
Oh, I don't know about that. I want to demonstrate it. I want to live it so that we can all live it. I don't want to just teach it. And then
you want to be it. You want to be it. You want to be it. I would love for you to check out I Am the Word. I'd love to know have you read it or looked at it?
I think I've seen it. I haven't, because when I did my radio show, I had to read a book a week for my guests. It's like, I don't want to look at another book right now. It's like 11 years of a book a week. It's like, okay, time out.
Yeah.
I love if there's something online. I mean, I'll look at it, and I'm watching YouTube videos from near-death experience people and quantum physicists. I like the information, but mostly I know I need to be quiet and I need to get guided so that I can go to that higher level and not work so hard at trying to get to that level.
Yep. Yeah. On my 70th birthday, I did shake my fist at God, and I said, hey, I'm helping all these people deepen their spiritual awareness and their spiritual lives. What about me? I'm ready. I'm ready to go to my next level. What's going on?
The same thing.
The book came to me. Stu Zimmerman, the guy that co-hosted my show, said, Patricia, you need to get this book. And I said, I need another book. The library, how many books I have in there. I said, is there something new under the sun that I don't know about? And I said, what's the name of the book? Really like that, with that attitude. And he said, I Am the Word. Honest to God, Pamela, I felt a thing here in my solar plexus. I thought, well, that's interesting. So I called Teresa down at Paradise Found. I said, hey, you have this book, I Am the Word? She goes, never heard of it. Order it. So I went to pick it up, and I felt the book. I felt it. It's a living document. It was just like I was dying of thirst. And this was the water I was waiting for. And I drank that book. It quenched everything for me. And it moved me to this place of knowing that we are indeed God. We are divine. It's not even a matter of a conversation anymore, and yet, those of us that are in this conversation are like, out of 8 billion people, our work is cut out for us, We need to go to our deeper levels and our more expanded levels where we're using the technology and everything to our advantage so that we can also really enjoy our lives.
Honestly, Patricia, in the universe that I'm in, that's where we're headed. That's why I've been shown about the new Renaissance, is that it's grace, joy, ease, love. It's just grace, joy, ease, and freedom. That's where we're headed. And so I know that universe already exists. What I have to be careful not to be hard on myself, because part of me goes, why aren't I doing that now? But you're enjoying this. Look what you've manifested here. This is awesome. You got freedom. You got abundance. Yeah, but. So it's like, no, it already exists. Relax. It's going from the old to the new, and thinking I'm choosing to get over the belief that that's separate from me, because it already exists. It's already here. So why aren't I living at 100%? Well, I don't know yet. Waiting for everybody else attached to the movie.
Well, I also think we're here to master fear. I think this is a schoolhouse for us to master fear, because fear is really the boogeyman. Fear is the bottom line for all the negativity, any kind of a negative thought, fear, doubt, it all comes down to fear. And that's what we're here to master. And I think that maybe it could be, I don't know, for me, it could be, this conversation has been wonderful for me today, because it's really helped me to solidify what I've always felt to be true. But like out on a limb, stranger in a strange land type of thing. But I totally concur with you. And I just need to practice, visualizing visualizing being in a different reality, being in a parallel reality that, where I manifest what I want very easily, without the belief systems, imprints, and programs from the past that say, well, no, you can't do that. You're not good enough. The imposter syndrome. God.
Well, that's the key, is that the old training. We've had a lot of practice at that old training and shifting. I mean, I can imagine the first time somebody came back and said, hey, the world's round. It's not flat. It's like, imagine people going, I'm on that boat and you're not tricking me. It's, And if you look at it, we still experience the sun coming up and going around us, not that the world's turning, right? So our perceptions and our old training it's still there, and some of it's fun and some of it's frustrating. So it's like,
some of it's frustrating. Yeah,
I'm definitely the frustrating.
I'm definitely in the midst of doing a lot of clearing right now, and it's very exciting. I did this thing. I go to Unity. I did this thing, this 40-day letting go process, a little Unity book and stuff, and I just added it to my meditation practice in the morning. But I've also been, letting go of other things like coffee and wine and sugar and like that. And I feel like it really is this practice of releasing and surrendering to who we are, to this magnificence of who we are and our ability to create our world. Holy cow. I mean, when you think about that, that's actually happening.
Yep. Accepting and embracing it.
Accepting and embracing it and blessing my fears. When my fear comes up now, I do what the guides talk about in the word work. I lift it to the upper room. Word on word through this fear. I'm lifting it to a higher frequency where it's going to be made new. Behold, I make all things new. The allusions to Jesus are wonderful, and they make in the book, but they make the definitely distinction that when they're talking about the Christ frequency, the Christ consciousness, they're not talking about Jesus as in Jesus Christ. He was the Christ, probably the first to express that way, but that this is the second coming. What they say is, you are coming into your Christ frequency. It's the second coming. And I thought, well, this makes total sense.
I mean, the second coming is supposed to come in the clouds, right? Well, what? That means everywhere. And it's funny that we've got the technology now. It's like, yeah, I've got everything stored in the cloud. Just like we already have. Yeah, I agree. It's here. It's here.
It's here. It's about really moving past the old programming, which has been hard because, I have a few years on you, darling, a few.
Oh, not a lot.
No, I don't know. But this is a new age of aging. Next week, I'm going to interview a fellow by the name of Wayne Lear. Have you heard of him? Wayne Lear. He's a baby boomer, and he's 72. And his work is conscious aging. And he really talks about all these different periods in our lives where we have like what is it called? When we move from one period to the other, like a vision quest or I can't think of the term right now. But anyway, he makes the distinction between when we were children and we had all this going on, our behavior and all, to when we were young adults and we had all this collaboration, making the money, doing, running 7 miles a day. He was like, you're always running 7 miles a day. He said, now we're in the third here. We're in the place where we can't do what we used to do before. He says, I used to I strain at 7 miles. So now I know that I need 5 miles. I'm taking care. In other words, it's about learning to take care of ourselves as well, and paying attention to it.
It's still a belief in aging. There's not one cell biology. There's not one cell in your body that's more than 7 years old. And most of them aren't even 7 years old. Some of them are only 30 days old. There's not one cell in your body that's more than 7 years old.
So that's still believing in aging? That's still the illusion, believing in aging?
Yes. We still believe that we have to, or that that's the way nature is, but it's not. If you look at quantum physics, there's no solidness to our bodies. You put it under a microscope. Remember, there's a cell in a lot of space, an atom in a whole lot of space. You go into the atom, it's subatomic particles and a whole lot of space. They can't even find anything solid to our bodies. This is like we're hypnotized into believing. Plus, we want the experience, but we don't have to age. It's our belief in it that's doing it.
Well, let's you and I do that. Let's not age.
Well, according to even the physicists, that there's people alive today, I told you that they think you're going to 500 years old, 1,000 years old, and immortal, that will never die. Okay. Now, and then if we want to leave, we just change to light. Isn't that what Jesus did? Didn't he turn to light? Wasn't the transfiguration? He just turned to light and lifted up.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're made of anyway, is light. So what the heck? I'd rather do it that way than the old story of how we die and how we do it. It's a nice story. It's a nice drama, but to me, it's getting boring and it's painful, and I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm all for it. Although it's pretty set in our consciousness that we age. When I've told some of my friends that it supposedly, according to quantum physics, we could live forever. They go, oh my gosh, how boring. And I go, oh my gosh, what a lack of imagination. How many things I haven't done? How do you squeeze everything you want to do into 80 or 90
Every
years?
place you want to go. I haven't done a lot of traveling in this lifetime, and I really love to do some traveling. Oh, there's so much. There's so much. This is I think this is why we chose to be here, so that we could actually have this experience and look at immortality. Look at, since physical immortality, that's the next level, isn't it?
Well, we came here to have the experience, to have the adventure, and now we're in a phase, I believe, I've been told from the other side, and I'm hearing people that have had near-death experiences, that we came here at this time for this transformation, to go to a whole new level of understanding who we are in physical, quote unquote, physical experiences, that it's heaven on earth. We don't have to die to be able to not die.
It is heaven on earth. It is heaven on earth. Oh,
so it's a whole new layer of consciousness, which, again, just like in the Dark Ages, I don't think they could have fathomed what the Renaissance was going to bring out. And so there's a good chance that we can't fathom what it's going to look like, but I got a pretty good imagination.
yeah. That's great.
I can imagine. I can imagine. I'm ready for it. Grace and ease and freedom and
Grace
joy.
and ease. You're speaking my words. Well, this is one of many shows I want to do with you on this conversation, because I think that you really have your fingers on the pulse of explaining it really well and sharing your own experience. Plus, I want to monitor how, monitor you. We'll do tag team with each other. If you had something, a very special pearl of wisdom to leave our audience with today, what would you say?
The first thing that comes up to say is we got to lighten up. We're here for fun. We're here for the adventure. We came from the garden, and then when we thought we had to leave the garden, then it went into problems and hard work and toil and whatever. Lightening up, realizing who we are, laughing more, not taking it so seriously, being playful. We're playful beings. We really are. So to not be hard on yourself, to love yourself for who you are. You're an amazing being, a divine being filled with light and made of light and love. And just like, I've heard people with near-death experiences say, you get to the other side, because it's like, I can't wait to get out of here. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. They get to the other side and go, oh, I want to go back. I was going to do that and I didn't do that. So it's like, you know what? You're loved unconditionally. You are loved unconditionally. You're not doing anything wrong. You're having experiences. Lighten up, enjoy the process, learn how to turn the page a little more often and go, oh, well, next chapter, next page.
Get into your imagination. Yeah.
Yeah. And just having more lightness about the whole thing.
Light. We are light beings, and you are a light being. And I've just loved having you on this new podcast of mine, Align with the Divine.
Hey, well, thanks for playing at this level, Patricia. And people get to believe what they want. Everyone gets to have whatever experience they want to have here. I just want us to know that we have the choice in what kind of experience we have.
That's right. That's right. Make the conscious choice. Well, darling, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. And I learned a lot today. And I'm sure that as people listen to this interview in the future, they're going to be, opening their eyes around a few things. Yeah.
Just things to think about. Expand consciousness or not. I like Richard Buck when he said, argue for your limitations and they're yours. If people go, no, it's not like this. Like, go for it, whatever you want.
That's right. That's what the guides say in the book. They say that too. You can throw the book out and just think it's all, but he said,
yeah. So thank you for playing at this level. Thank you for doing this podcast. And it's really fun.
So thank you all for listening, for viewing, whether you're on YouTube or on one of the wonderful platforms. This has been a great show with Pamala Oslie, and I look forward to your feedback. Let me know how you like the show. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for joining me today on Align with the Divine podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you'd like to learn more about my work, I invite you to my website, alignwiththedivine.net. And on the homepage, I'm giving away a free gift. It's a masterclass I did called The 7 Keys to Successful Manifesting. Pretty much lays out the bones of my work. Also, for a limited time only, between now and the end of August, just for the summer, I'll be giving complimentary tarot sessions 30-minute sessions valued at $90. So if you're interested, reach out to me using my email, patricia@patriciadiorio.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again for joining me today, and namaste.